Life After Money. Now this is video number 8 in my series called My Trucking Life. So I think it might be about halfway through it now, but I'm going to move on now from the Lady Truckers Club. We'll be back to that later, but we'll be back on the driving side now. I mean, I was driving all this time all the way through, and I was at British Road Services, and I was there about 5 years, I think, and I did all the contract work, I did all the jobs, so the chemical tankers and Taunton cider and other contracts. But I was getting bored again, and I wanted to learn something new. And I started noticing abnormal loads, huge, great, big, massive loads. See them up and down the road with police escorts. And I thought, I wonder if I could do that. I'd love to have a go at that. So anyway, there was a firm called Leicester Heavy Haulage, 16 miles from where I lived. And I wrote them a letter and said, you know, I'm interested in the lorry driving job. I've got all this experience now, and could you let me know if you have any vacancies? Well, I had a letter back from Brian Rodwell, the owner of it. It was a family business, and he said, no, we haven't got any vacancies. Well, I was absolutely gutted, because I'd set my heart on this job, and it was, you know, it was the job that I really, really wanted. But I didn't give up, and I kept writing to him every 2 weeks or so. I rang him up and said, let me know when you've got a vacancy, because, you know, I want to come and work for you. And eventually he did ring me up, and it's about 3 months later, and he said, we've got a driver short, can you come and do a couple of days? And I said, yes, yes. I was there like a shot. So I think he was actually treating it as a trial, because, you know, the only female in heavy haulage. So anyway, I did the 2 days, the Thursday, the Friday. It gave me an ERF truck and a flatbed trailer. They were all flatbed trailers, low loader trailers. Everything to go on the trailer had to be roped, sheeted, strapped, chained down. And so I did porter cabins, I did steel, I did timber. And I went back in the office at the end of the 2 days on the Friday afternoon. He says, well, he says, how have you got on with that then? And I said, well, I think it's okay actually. Yeah, I can do that. So then he said, I'll give you a job then. So I was ecstatic, you know. Anyway, I started, I think probably the following week actually. So he gave me a lorry. It was nearly all ERFs, which I was pleased about, because I really liked them. So I started, and when I started, I said to him, I said, look, I said, I know I'm a woman. I said, but I don't want any easy options. You don't have to treat me any differently to the men. I want the same opportunities. I will do the same work. And I said, I really would like to work my way up the ladder, because I would really like to drive your biggest load, biggest truck, biggest load. And he did have one that was plated for 165 tons. So he said, no, that's fine, you're getting paid the same, so you'll do the same job. So off I went with my lorry, and after about 2 to 3 months, I was just getting loads that fit exactly on a 40-foot flat trailer. So it was timber, it was steel, and nothing abnormal that was going to need a police escort. So I went back into the office and spoke to, we all called him Brian, and spoke to him, and I said, well, I'd like the abnormal load work, when will I get a chance to do this? So then he hesitated and he said, could be quite difficult actually, because you've got to stay out all week in the cab, which I knew about anyway. And he says, the legal requirement is that you have a second person in the cab, and with anything oversize, overweight, oversize. So I said, well, that's fine, there's 2 bunks in the cab, they were made for double manning. And I said, that's fine, what's the problem? He said, well, it might be difficult if the driver's, well, it's not a driver, it would be the other person. The other person doesn't drive, he is just the mate, to assist with loading and unloading. And anyway, he said, wouldn't be right, because what if the mate is married? So I said, well, I won't tell his wife if you don't. So anyway, did manage to find somebody that would come out with me as a mate to sit in the passenger side, and off I went, and it worked out pretty fine actually. We got some funny looks because everybody thought that he was the driver and he was giving me a chance, and letting me drive. And it was quite amusing because when we go for places to pick up loads or deliver loads, we used to pick up, I'll show you pictures, I've got tons of pictures, but we used to pick up all over the place. So it was a tramping job actually. So we would leave the yard on a Monday morning, go and deliver the load, ring in to find out where the next load was for picking up. So we'd pull in a place, and the person on site would say to him, tell him what we were going to put on the trailer. Well, we've got this and we've got that, and it's going to be craned on and off. So then I had to say, excuse me, I said, could you tell me please, because I am the driver. Well, they were gobsmacked, and people did give us some funny looks, but I mean, by that time I was used to being stared at. And so it went on, and yeah, everybody was getting used to me doing abnormal loads and having a mate with me, People used to say, well, what happens on a night out? Well, you're both sleeping in the cab. So anyway, my answer was that, right, we've been in the cab all day working, and when we parked up at night, we want to get out of the cab and maybe go get something to eat, go to the pub, a cafe, or walk to somewhere, and then or in maybe a truck stop if we were lucky. And I would say to the mate, I said, well, I'm going back to the cab now, and you come like 10-20 minutes later. So that's what happened. I got in the cab, and I was generally in the bottom bunk, sometimes in the top bunk, but anyway, I would get into bed underneath my duvet and just turn to face the back of the cab, and then matey would come in and get on his bunk, perfectly fine, no problem. Some of the mates were a bit rough, I must admit. Oh dear me. I mean, talk about belching and farting all night. Oh dear. Really shouldn't say that, but I can laugh about it now. But a bit grim at times. But that was the job. I had to do it, and that was it. But in the morning, the mate would get out first, go and have a pee up the wheel, and I would get the coffee on. So no problem at all. It worked fine. And eventually, I was there for about 3 years. I worked my way up to, started off at a 75 tonner, and no, 55, sorry. It was a normal tractor unit, but it was plated to be a 55 tonner overall. That's with the trailer and the load. So that's gross weight. And then I did work my way up to a 75 tonner and an 80 tonner. So you just move up in size. The vehicle itself doesn't look any bigger than any other one, but it's built so that it can carry extra weight, and the trailers as well are some of them are quite heavy. The low loaded trailers are heavy. So yeah, so I was there for 3 years and I absolutely loved that job. It was my dream job. It was what I was working up to. It was, I wanted to be there forever. And I used to look at the drivers doing, you know, bigger weights than me, you know, as I said, 165 tons, some of them. And I used to think, yeah, I'm going to get there, I'm going to get there. And we often worked in teams because there'd be several lorries needed on one job. So we worked in teams and all worked together. Now I had to butt in sometimes because we might be loading inside a factory with an overhead crane, putting all the stuff on the trailer, filling it up, and another driver would jump up on the trailer and give directions to the crane driver, and I had to butt in because I was the driver of that vehicle and that trailer. I was responsible for what happened to it on the road, so I needed to make the decision as to how it was going to be loaded. So if there's any mishap occurred afterwards, then there was only me to blame. I was responsible for it. The other drivers that wanted to help sort of, you know, oh dear, oh, can't help her, she knows everything. Well, you know, it was nice of them to offer to help, but I wanted to do the job. I had to learn it. No point in me standing back and just letting somebody else get on with it. I was a driver, so that's what I had to do. Anyway, this video might turn out to be too long, so I've got tons of pictures laid out there, and so we'll go and have a look. Are you coming with me? Right. Right, long shot. The sun's out, the table's in front of the window here. We just had a horrific storm, but it's gone now. A lot of these photos have got captions, so let me see. This was unloading at Dover Docks. Unloading at Dover Docks, new sections for a loading ramp for the boats. There we are, naming cab. What's this one? I'm going to read the captions here. That was a boiler from South Wales to Nottingham on a low loaded trailer. So you can see quite a long trailer there. Yep. Right, here we go. Now this is a silo that I picked up. I hitched up to this silo. The silo itself is the trailer. So, but it was a beast to move because it was very, very long. I think it was about 55 feet long. But that one single axle on the back makes it very, very difficult to move it. Most of the time it didn't need moving, but occasionally it needed moving depot to depot. So yeah, a water pump in Cumbria. I was parked there in a lay-by waiting for a changeover with a police escort. I was waiting for my escort to arrive. Transformer from Loughborough to Cornwall. We did a lot of work from with transformers. So there, the crane is loading it onto the trailer. I shouldn't be sitting in the cab there really, but I should be watching him. Yeah, this is a conveyor belt, and now again the conveyor belt is the trailer. So I hitched up along on the towing pin on the back of the lorry there,
And with that, you don't have lights. When you're hitching up to a piece of equipment, you don't have lights on it, so you carry a light board to put the lights through from the cab to the back. More quarry plant picked up. As says there that it weighs 55 tons. So there you are. And these there was actually 4 here on this job, but there's only 2 of us on this picture. Me and the other lad, we arrived not very big abnormal loads. We didn't need mates with this, but we took them into Sam Smith's brewery at Tadcaster. So they needed a crane, a very, very massive big crane. That's the little iron fairy crane, that one. But this is the big crane that we used. Yeah, it's a really big crane. It's a 500-ton crane, because there it's lifting it into the roof of that building there, and it's quite a long distance to lift, so we needed a big crane for that. So, and steel, yeah, more steel. This was regular work, steel. Trailer is extended to 50 feet. Most trailers that we had were normal 40 foots, but we had extendables which stretched to 50 and 60 feet. More steel. More steel. This here we are on we've got a convoy going here. We're on our way from Aberdeen to Great Yarmouth. So we stopped at the side of the road waiting for a police escort. Now this is a massive, great big gearbox, and we're getting into the sunlight here. I don't know if this is going to work with the sun coming through the window. Yeah, it was a gearbox from Ripley to the steelworks at Port Talbot. Weights 26 tons. Trailer stretched to 50 feet, and 3 sheets to cover it. Now I did all that roping and sheeting myself. And we're in the sun here, so I don't know if we're gonna. I might have to move these actually out of the sun. Right. Now that's a piece of quarry, a mobile batching plant they called it. And where did I do it? From Tamworth, Staffordshire to Coatesbridge in Scotland. 55 feet long, 16 feet high. Right. 16 feet is okay to go on motorway bridges, on motorways, because bridges have to be 16'6" high on motorways. So I was only just getting through the motorway bridges. So a massive, great thing. Again, I hitched my tractor unit up to it and put the light board on the back. Right, here we go. I'm going to have to move them out the sun. So, this was the biggest load I ever did. I'm trying to keep this camera steady but not succeeding. This was the biggest load I ever did. 20 feet high and 17 feet wide. Now there were 6 of us on this job. There we are, getting ready. British Telecom came with us the whole distance. We took them from where did we take them from? Norfolk. Norfolk to Trafford Park in Manchester. They went to a sugar refinery. Huge, great, big tank vessels. Yeah, and we put sheets on them when we were halfway through the trip, because we were breaking a lot of phone wires. British Telecom stayed with us the whole way to put the phone wires back up again, and obviously police all the way. And it was a very slow journey, 6 days, a lot of it done at walking pace. So I didn't lead that, thank goodness. I was in the middle of it. A couple more photos here. They were scattered all over the place. Look at me in my shorts then, eh? Nice sunny day in the shorts. Focus is not brilliant on this, is it? But you get the idea. Yeah, I've got a picture here of me. This is what I often looked like when I was working. Overalls, gloves, steel toe caps, on the back of the trailer, moving the wood about to get ready for loading and unloading and tidying up the trailer afterwards. But I loved it. Got a couple more over here that we haven't seen yet. Oops. Now that was the 80 tonner that I finished up on. How to get a high load under a low bridge. Yep, that bridge is too low to get that load underneath. So what we did was pulled it under as far as it could go and stopped before I hit the bridge, dropped the trailer down, and they put it onto, they've got a crane behind it. There's a crane behind there, and the crane lifted it onto little roller skates, proper heavy duty type roller skates. Now I put a chain on it then and dragged it underneath because it was obviously low enough then to go under that bridge. So I pulled it underneath, dragged it in under quite a long way. The crane could get underneath as well, and the crane lifted it back on again. Sorry, it was the they actually lifted the tank off the trailer there and put the skates underneath that tank. So yeah, I pulled it under on skates. Right, just more big stuff. I was doing all the big stuff now. A lot of quarry work, a lot of equipment pulling out of quarries. Here we are, more quarries. Oh, all sorts. There we are. That's a lot of heavy haulage over 3 years. Right, I've just got a little bit over here that I'm going to point the camera at. Whoops, hang on a minute. So, I ended up in newspapers as well while I was doing this work, because I think probably I was the only one doing it. Oops. There we are. I do look a bit rough there actually, which is hardly surprising because I lived in that cab. That cab, B371 OFP. I absolutely love that cab. There you are, another one. Leicester Heavy Haulage, Queens of the Road. That was a commercial motor. That one was. I don't know if there's any on the back. Oh, there's another one, look. There's another one. I was on television. They sent somebody out to come and have a ride out with me, and I was on television there. And here we go. This is story in the Shell Diesel Drivers magazine, I think. Yeah, so that's David, the Brian Rodwell's son. There's 4 sons that run the business. So yeah, there we are. And look at that. Have you ever seen British Rail carriages on the road? We used to go down to Felixstowe docks, and they had 8 of these coming off the boat. They came in from Italy, and we had our trailers down there parked alongside the boat, ready stretched out, and the crane lifted them out the boat and straight on to the trailers. Trailers stretched for 60 feet. There was a 10-foot overhang on the back. We had to cut the headboards off the front because they had to be pushed as far forward as they could be, and there's an overall length there of about 95 feet long. So yep, it was certainly very interesting work. Right, let me just have a put you back there for a minute. Right, now I absolutely love that work. Most of the drivers treated me quite well. Boss gave me the same jobs as anybody else had, and I got paid the same, of course. And but after 3 years I could see that it's going to take me a long time to go up the ladder a bit further, and it's a job where
drivers it's such a specialised job. Drivers really are in it for the long haul, I should say, the long term, because it's every driver's dream job. And it was going to take me a long time to get to the top. I decided to leave. I did have a little bit of stick from 2 or 3 of the drivers, or maybe only 1 or 2 of the drivers. I had an awful time with one driver, awful, and he was, I won't even tell you, he was horrible. He was really horrible. Now I didn't let that put me off, because you know I'm a fighter. If people don't like me, well, that's their problem, mate. But by this time I should have had a lot more respect than I did have, and he did not respect me one bit. And I was a bit peeved about that, because I had far more experience than he had. I had done far more interesting and unusual and types of work, done every kind of work. So I just thought, nah, I'm gonna go. So 3 years, and I left. But it's not the end, because there's more to come. I will save that for another day. So that was my Leicester Heavy Haulage roundup video, and I'll say bye for now. This is Mean Queen, Life After Money, and that was number 8. Bye.